MMR Group PrintSolutions has been one of the leading providers of products and services for the Polish printing industry for almost 30 years. The first stage of each implementation is the verification of the client's needs and expectations, as well as technical advice. Only after the project has been thoroughly discussed with the client, it is taken for further work in the graphic studio. The graphic designer shall check and set up the file to be cut on the plotter. First of all, he must verify whether there are any hidden other elements in the detailed view of the file that the plotter could cut, or whether the number of nodes is not too large. Then the graphic designer shall check the color scheme of the objects, CMYK or Pantone. He shall select a default color, in this case black, in order to indicate the elements to be cut. On a separate layer, the graphic designer shall add a frame in the target format of the matrix, marked with a subsequent color. In the next step, he shall add auxiliary cutting lines. The guides cannot cut across the graphics. They are designed to help the operator do the freeform selection. For production work, the graphic designer shall supplement the graphic composition with distortions and mirror reflection. The last stage of the file preparation shall be an auxiliary marking with another color of these elements, which should be selected by the plotter operator. In order to start cutting the board, the plotter operator shall upload the file that had been prepared earlier by the graphic designer. Before commencing work, it shall be worth carrying out a cutting test on the material in order to adjust the correct blade height. For this purpose, it shall be sufficient to prepare a file with two small squares, where one is embedded in the other. The cutting tool which the test will be performed by shall be selected in the Layer tab. Then the cutting height shall be selected. Value 0 shall be the surface of the table. The plus value shall be the value of the cut into the table, and the minus value shall designate the cut above the table surface. It is worth remembering that our boards, both Dynacoat and NovaSpot, regardless of their thickness, have a constant thickness of PET substrate, which is about 0.40 millimeters. After the selection of the cutting tool, setting the cutting height and the plotter operating speed for each layer, we go to the Production tab. Here, the way of work starting point indication shall be selected. We can do this with a camera or a laser point. In this case, we shall indicate the work starting point with a laser. The test cut shall be started. The plotter operator shall apply the freeform selection technique to cut rubber elements. The cut test has been successful. Let us now return to the file prepared by the graphic designer in order to prepare the target work. Layer number 1 in this case shall be the curves to be cut to the substrate, ground layer only. The first cutting tool, rigid material knife, shall be selected, which is only used to cut rubber materials to the PET layer. This tool shall not be used to either cut the PET layer, nor do we use it for other objects. Thanks to this, it shall maintain its sharpness for a very long time and can successfully cut up to several hundred boards. The cutting height shall be the same as during the test. The speed of cutting shall be reduced to achieve high quality. It is worth remembering that, depending on the plotter, these values may differ because they are associated with the main settings of the cutting tool and the state of the felt mat. The second layer shall be the curves that show on the cut panel the elements to be removed. As a result, the plotter operator does not need to consider or refer to technical drawings to check which element is to remain on the cut board and which has to be removed. This shall enable to eliminate the risk of error and ensure time saving. The ballpoint pen tool shall be selected, either with a ball pen or a marker. The third layer contains the board contour. Having it, the plate shall be cut from the roll. The second rigid material knife tool shall now be selected with the same blade, like that in the first one. Please note that this tool is intended only to cut through plates or blankets. The pre-cut set depth shall depend on the main tool settings. With the use of the laser, point 0 shall be set on the plate. The cutting process shall be activated. The plotter shall first cut all the curves from the first layer down to the PET substrate. Dynacoat is the ideal plate for selective lacquering. Its construction facilitates the perfect cutting of graphic elements. The applied blends of the rubber layer are adequate for varnishing with UV and dispersion varnishes. The fine sanding of the outer layer optimizes the transfer of the varnish. The design of the blanket achieves a balance between the essential ease of applying the freeform selection and resistance to delamination during use. It shall then mark the curves indicated in the second layer. The plotter shall complete its work by cutting through the plate contour. Freeform select technique shall be started. The freeform selection tool shall be applied at the angle of approximately 30 degrees. It should be remembered that the freeform selection shall start with the line cut towards the element that has to be removed from the plate. The freeform select technique shall never be applied towards an element that has to remain on the board. Special caution should be exercised with small or sharply finished components. Preparing the boards for varnishing is time-consuming, but the design and material of NovaSpot and Dynacoat blankets, along with the appropriate preparation of files for cracking, help to reduce the time to a minimum. This is the final result. Now we move on to cutting the NovaSpot 1.15 material. NovaSpot is a plate for UV and dispersion varnishing. The rubber layer mixed is ideal for use with soft touch varnishes, resulting in the ability to achieve a deep matte finish. When used with gloss varnishes, it increases the gloss by several gloss points. Carefully selected rubber compositions minimize the absorption of paint when varnishing. The polyester applied in the bottom layer is a material that is size stabilizing crack-resistant, and flexible, which makes it easy to install on the machine. The design of the plate allows easy application of freeform selection. This is the final result. Plates for lacquering on polyester base are available in thicknesses of 1.15 mm, 1.35 mm, 1.95 mm, and 1.96 mm. The plates are reusable. After the varnishing process, the plate should be washed and stored in a dry place until the next use.